Welcome to the law offices of Chris M. Ingram's Immigration News Show. Today we ask, are you a STEM graduate or professional dreaming of unlocking opportunities in America, but wondering how to overcome the hurdles of visas, policies, and uncertainties that stand in your way?
We would like to thank attorney Chris M. Ingram and staff at the law offices of Chris M. Ingram for their hard work in preparing the research for this show, which draws on a wide variety of news sources from both sides of the aisle, providing a balanced view. Attorney Ingram is also a vocal advocate for the rights and protection of immigration applicants, although our coverage is designed to be nonpartisan.
Please don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to our channel. We are also on Spotify, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, X, Reddit, and Instagram, where we're growing rapidly thanks to our social media team. You can also visit our website on www.breakthroughusa.com. We'd love to see you there.
And just a quick disclaimer. Please note that this presentation should not be intended as legal advice for your specific situation.
That's right. If you, a friend, or a family member would like a free consultation, you can visit our website at www.breakthroughusa.com and schedule an appointment. We'll love to hear from you and help you if we can.
We'd also like to point out that this presentation was created using AI hosts.
Okay, let's dive in.
Yeah, that really sets the stage for what we're diving into today. Our whole mission here is to turn all that confusion into some real clarity, especially for international STEM professionals.
Because the landscape is changing so fast, isn't it?
It's shifting dramatically. So we're going to distill some of the most complex changes. I'm talking specifically about the new weighted H-1B selection system and some big operational updates from USCIS.
And turn it into strategic intelligence you can actually use.
Exactly.
I love that phrase, strategic intelligence, because, we're not just going to read regulations at you. We want to connect these bureaucratic pivots to the bigger picture, the macroeconomic reality. We want you, the listener, to really get why your skills in AI, in advanced engineering, biotech, why they are so critical to the American economy.
And how the system is sort of simultaneously trying to attract and also vet that high-value talent. It's a real push and pull.
A balancing act.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And we'll really emphasize resilience. I mean, let's be honest, backlogs and policy uncertainties, they're just facts of life in this field.
They always have been.
So we want to shine a light on the key retention pathways like the National Interest Waiver that are specifically designed to convert your extraordinary skills into long-term residency. We're basically handing you the roadmap to navigate these hurdles and, really succeed in your career.
Okay, so let's unpack this whole journey with a story that I think just perfectly embodies the ultimate potential here. It's the story of Professor Omar Yaghi. His life is just an absolute masterclass in resilience, and it shows what an F1 student visa, starting from the most humble origins, can ultimately represent.
Yeah, his narrative gives so much essential context before we get into the policy mechanics. Omar Yaghi, he was born in Amman, Jordan, back in 1965. He was a Palestinian refugee.
Right. His family was displaced by the 1948 conflict. And their living conditions were, they're just astonishing when you think about it from a modern academic perspective.
It's hard to even imagine.
I think we really need to pause on those beginnings because it highlights the sheer scale of his achievement. Our legal team's research detailed that his family, and there were a dozen siblings, lived in a single cramped room. His father was a butcher, and they shared that space with livestock.
No steady electricity, no running water?
Exactly. This wasn't just poverty. It was this, fundamental scarcity that demanded just extreme grit for daily survival.
And yet, it was in that environment that the first spark of genius really ignited.
Yeah.
At age 10, Omar found a rare book in a local library. And what caught his eye wasn't the text, he couldn't understand it all, but the illustrations, those, simple stick and ball drawings of molecules.
The classic chemistry model.
The classic model. And even without understanding the chemistry behind it, that visual of structured complexity just captivated him. It really set his life's path.
That's just the power of curiosity, isn't it? Overcoming circumstance. And then the next big leap happened when he was just 15.
Just a teenager.
Yeah, his father, recognizing the limited prospects in Jordan, sent him completely alone to Troy, New York. All he had was an F1 student visa and, a dream.
Can you imagine that culture shock? A teenager traveling alone to frigid upstate New York, facing a huge language barrier, total cultural isolation, and this immediate crushing need to support himself.
That F1 visa was, truly the foundational bridge. And to navigate those cold winters and the financial pressure, he enrolled in Hudson Valley Community College. And he didn't just take classes, he was balancing remedial coursework, English, math, science, with the absolute necessity of survival jobs.
We're talking bagging groceries, mopping floors.
Anything it took to keep that student status and cover his costs. And that level of dedication, I think, really defines the perseverance we see in so many international STEM students today.
And that investment paid off, and it paid off quickly. He transferred to the State University of New York at Albany, and he graduated cum laude with a BS in chemistry in 1985.
Wow.
That performance then got him into a PhD program at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, which he finished in 1990. And from there, a super competitive postdoctoral fellowship at Harvard.
So his trajectory was just relentless, always pushing toward the center of global scientific discovery.
Absolutely. And his professional ascent from there was, just meteoric. He held prestigious roles at Arizona State, the University of Michigan, UCLA, and since 2012, he's been at UC Berkeley,
where he holds the James Nilchey Tretter Chair in Chemistry, and, just as importantly, he directs the Berkeley Global Science Institute, so he's committed to nurturing that next generation of global talent.
And the scientific core of his contribution, the thing he's known for, is his invention of reticular chemistry.
He basically founded the field.
He did. It's all about building materials atom by atom, designing them with these precise molecular units, what he calls molecular Lego sets.
Okay, let's get into that a bit, because molecular Lego sounds simple, but the chemistry behind it is revolutionary. What exactly makes reticular chemistry and his creations, these MOFs and COFs, so groundbreaking?
The key is porosity and surface area. So traditional crystals are dense, solid. MOFs and COFs, metal organic frameworks and covalent organic frameworks, are these structured crystalline materials. But they're built by connecting molecular nodes with organic linkers,
creating huge internal spaces.
Massive internal spaces, like a perfectly organized molecular sponge. Our legal research pointed out that a single gram of one of these materials can have a surface area equivalent to several football fields.
That's incredible, and that huge surface area is what allows them to have such a real-world impact. We're talking about materials that are completely revolutionizing gas storage, making things like hydrogen fuel cells more viable or capturing carbon dioxide way more efficiently than current technology.
Which is critical for climate change.
Absolutely. And beyond climate, the applications are just astounding. Developing super advanced sensors, creating targeted drug delivery systems.
And maybe the most famous one, inventing materials that can efficiently pull clean, usable water directly from desert air, using almost no energy.
The impact is so quantifiable, the research metrics our team pulled are just staggering. Over 250,000 citations, an age index of 190, more than 60 U.S. patents.
And all of that culminated in 2025 when he shared the Nobel Prize in chemistry.
It's hard to think of a better example of the return on investment that the U.S. gets from providing opportunities through something as simple as the F1 visa system.
The Nobel Committee Chair, Heiner Lenk, he really underscored this. He noted that MOFs have enormous potential, and they bring previously unforeseen opportunities for custom-made materials with new functions.
So it's not just incremental science. This is field-defining innovation.
Right. And his own university, through Anne Beringer, the dean at UC Berkeley's College of Chemistry, she summarized his dual contributions so well. She talked about him combining groundbreaking science with this passionate desire to mentor and outreach on a global scale.
But the quote that I think will resonate most with our listeners, who are often on that exact same path, comes from Yagi himself. He looks back on his refugee beginnings and says that science is the greatest equalizing force in the world, and that the focus has to be on unleashing their potential through providing them with opportunity, because smart people, talented people, skilled people exist everywhere.
That's a powerful sentiment.
And it's the perfect launch pad to talk about the legal mechanisms that actually enable a transition like that. Attorney Chris Ingram and our legal team really emphasize that Yagi's path, F1 to Nobel laureate, is the blueprint.
That blueprint, it starts with the post-completion optional practical training, the OPT. That gives you that crucial time to apply what you learned in a real-world setting right after you graduate.
And for someone who eventually has Yagi's level of documented impact, the O1 visa for extraordinary ability becomes a very real option.
Definitely. The O1 is all based on showing national or international recognition of your achievements. A massive publication record, tons of patents, or, founding a new field of chemistry. That certainly qualifies.
Or, alternatively, many top academics start with an H-1B that's sponsored by a university or a nonprofit research institute. But the key takeaway for you, listening, is this. Strong, documented proof of your research impact, like Yagi's edX and patent portfolio, doesn't just get you a temporary visa.
No, it dramatically accelerates those permanent residency pathways down the line.
You finally got your family together on a H-1B. Your American dream begins. Your employer files for your EB-2 green card, but the wait is over 11 years. As the years go by, frustration grows, and now the company is talking about layoffs. This could be the end of your American dream. You search for help, but luckily, you land on breakthroughusa.com. They listened, reassured you, and built your EB-1 case with precision. Then one day, a notification buzzes. EB-1 approved. With your EB-1 green card, your entire family can breathe.
I have got my visa. I got my visa.
That's why the law offices of Chris M. Ingram is trusted. Your future shouldn't wait. Let's talk EB-1.
What are the next steps?
Need help with your visa? Book your free consultation now at www.breakthroughusa.com and let us take care of you.
Which brings us directly to the H-1B visa, the visa that is the main bridge from student to long-term professional for most STEM workers. And we have to confront the huge policy change that is reshaping that competitive landscape for everyone.
Okay, so here's where we get into the cold, hard mechanics of the new reality. The era of the pure random lottery for the H-1B is, for all intents and purposes, over.
It's a seismic shift.
It is. The Department of Homeland Security finalized a new weighted selection process on December 23, 2025. And this takes effect for the fiscal year 2027 registrations.
So the registration cycle that starts in March 2026 is the first time we're going to see this in action.
Exactly. This isn't just a tweak to the rules. It's replacing a system that's been in place for decades, a system based on pure chance with one based on prioritization.
And the core mechanism of that prioritization is wage level.
Correct. The system is now going to prioritize higher wage levels. It pulls data from the Occupational Employment and Wage Statistics Program, the OEWS, which is run by the Department of Labor.
And the stated goal is pretty clear, right?
Very clear. It's to make sure H-1B selections align strictly with the highest skilled specialty occupations. They're specifically targeting high-demand fields like advanced AI architecture, specialized bioengineering, complex robotics.
So if the whole system is now weighted based on wages, then understanding these OEWS wage levels isn't just, academic, it's strategic.
It's everything.
Our team's legal research broke down these 4 tiers. We need to walk through exactly what these levels mean, both in terms of job responsibility and in terms of salary.
Absolutely. Let's start at the bottom with level 1, the entry level. This is your foundational tier.
Your first job out of a master's program, maybe?
Exactly. A level 1 employee is performing basic routine tasks, they're following defined procedures, and they're always under close supervision. So, for instance, an entry-level software developer in a big city might earn around $90,000 a year.
And that salary corresponds to about the 17th percentile of the OEWS data for that job in that location.
Right. It's the baseline. Now, move up to level 2, moderately experienced. Here, the employee is handling tasks with a bit more complexity, some limited complexity, and they're starting to get a degree of independence.
So they're not constantly supervised anymore.
No, but they're still working within defined project rules. Wages here climb higher, maybe around $110,000 a year, which puts them around the 34th percentile. This is often where you are after 1 or 2 years of professional experience.
Okay, then we hit the sweet spot for the new system. Level 3, the fully competent professional.
This is the individual who is autonomous. They can manage complex projects, they can design solutions, they make decisions with minimal supervision. Think senior engineers, lead analysts.
And their wages reflect that. They're at the median professional level, roughly $132,000 annually, right at the 50th percentile. This is really the definition of a standard, experienced specialty occupation worker.
And finally, the highest tier, the gold standard. Level 4, the expert. These are the critical roles. High-level decision-making, setting strategic direction, leading intricate specialized projects.
We're talking principal engineers, research directors, those kinds of roles.
The wages are significantly higher, around $150,000 a year, based on the 67th percentile for that location. This level demands proven, high-level independence and leadership.
The intention behind tying the selection weight to these levels is really crucial. Our legal team included the rationale from a USCIS spokesman, Matthew Tregesser.
Right. He said that the old random process was being exploited and abused by U.S. employers who were primarily seeking to import foreign workers at lower wages than they would pay American workers.
So the policy is explicitly designed to kill the incentive for fraud and make sure that H-1B visas are only used for truly high-skilled talent that commands high market rate compensation.
It's a direct shift from a blind chance system to a merit and compensation-based one.
And attorney Chris Ingram confirms that the mechanism does this by explicitly favoring levels 3 and 4. It gives them more entries into the selection pool,
Which dramatically reduces the randomness for proven experts, while at the same time discouraging low-wage petitions. It's a strategic move to force employers to offer competitive salaries in STEM if they want to secure the talent.
But, and this is a critical point, what about the unintended consequences? Doesn't this put nonprofit research institutions, for example, which can't afford level 4 wages, at a huge disadvantage?
That is the core challenge for the nonprofit and academic sectors. They've traditionally relied on the H-1B to retain specialized researchers right after their PhDs, often placing them at level 2, maybe a high level 1.
Right.
Now, those institutions are facing much steeper odds compared to a big tech company in Silicon Valley that can easily offer level 4 pay for an AI architect.
So it forces the academic sector to rely even more on pathways like the O1 or the NIW, which we'll get to later, to keep your best people.
Exactly, because the H-1B lottery has just become so much more competitive in favor of pure compensation.
This makes the strategy for level 1 and 2 applicants absolutely vital. Let's use those two software developer scenarios from our research to really illustrate this. Let's call them Priya and Alex.
Okay, so Priya is a recent master's graduate. She's at level 1, earning $90,000 a year, doing routine coding under supervision. Under the new system, her application goes into the standard pool with just the baseline odds.
So her chances are now relative to how many higher-level applicants there are. This means she needs a strategy that goes beyond just registering.
Her focus has to be on leveraging her post-completion OPT. She needs to build a portfolio that really shows skills beyond just routine coding.
Like contributing to significant open source projects.
Or taking specialized training, or getting a promotion that pushes her job duties and her salary toward level 3 during her OPT period. That proactive development is her only way to maximize her chances in the future.
Okay, now let's compare that to Alex. He's a seasoned developer from Brazil at the level 4 expert tier, earning $150,000. He's leading complex AI development for a major U.S. company.
So because Alex is at level 4, he gets multiple weighted entries. Our research suggests up to 4 times more weighted entries into the selection process than Priya gets.
Wow, 4 times more.
It's a huge advantage. It means his H-1B is likely secured much faster, letting his company immediately rely on his leadership for their critical machine learning projects.
The comparison is just so stark. The new system dramatically rewards that immediate demonstrated value that's reflected in a level 3 or 4 salary.
The takeaway for every listener is clear. You have to strategically position your role and your compensation to maximize those weighted odds. It's no longer enough to just apply. You have to be positioned as a high-value expert right from the start.
And that sets the table perfectly for our next part, because navigating the H-1B selection is only half the battle. Once you're selected, you have to deal with all these operational and procedural shifts at USCIS that can impact everything.
Yeah, the operational landscape at USCIS is, well, it's a mixed bag. It's modernization on one hand and a lot of added scrutiny on the other.
So while the weighted H-1B system helps advance STEM roles, the procedural hoops are getting more complex for everyone.
On the modernization side, there are some helpful changes. For example, mandatory electronic payments. This should streamline I-129 filings, that's the petition for H-1Bs and other worker categories, and it should cut down on some of the manual processing delays.
Okay, that's good. But that efficiency is paired with a major increase in vetting and cost.
Right. Let's talk about the enhanced security measures first. There's an expansion of biometrics requirements, and this is a big one, deeper social media and online presence reviews.
And this applies not just to the H-1B applicant, but also to their dependents and to students on F1 status?
That's right. So maintaining a professional, consistent, and just impeccably clean digital footprint is now a non-negotiable part of the security vetting. USCIS is looking for consistency between your application and your public life, and they're digging into your history for any red flags.
Beyond the vetting, there are big cost increases. The H-1B registration fee is up to $215. But we have to talk about this very specific but potentially massive $100,000 fee.
Yeah. This is for certain new H-1B petitions that are filed from outside the U.S., and it's effective after September 21st, 2025.
$100,000 is. I mean, that's an eye-watering figure. Our legal team notes this fee is very targeted. It's not for everyone. We need to explain the context. Why the fee, and how do you get exempted?
The fee seems designed to be a major barrier for employers trying to import large volumes of foreign labor, or maybe as a protective measure for sensitive technologies. But the critical detail is the exemption.
Right.
This huge fee is waived for roles that are deemed to be in the national interest.
What exactly qualifies as national interest here?
Our researchers suggest it would typically involve positions related to national defense, critical infrastructure, public health, or key economic sectors where that foreign expertise is just indispensable.
So if your H-1B role is, say, advanced research under government contract for cybersecurity, you're much more likely to get an exemption.
It's exactly. Much more likely than a general software maintenance role. The focus is on filtering based on perceived value and sensitivity to the nation's core needs.
We're also seeing more visa interview requirements across the board, which strengthens security but also creates practical delays. STEM scholars have to factor in longer lead times for their final approvals.
Which can really mess with project timelines, especially in fast-moving fields like biotech.
But maybe the most critical logistical shift, the one that impacts the daily work life of thousands of professionals already here, relates to the Employment Authorization Document, the EAD.
Rome, 20,000 spectators, one epic battle, two warriors, one destiny. But before they can fight for glory, they must face the real challenge, getting their visa approved.
If you want to enter, show me your visa.
They should have went to the law offices of Chris M. Ingram. They are very good.
Yes, I've heard the same. They handled my visa in no time.
Off to the Lions pit.
Come with me, boys. It's dinner time.
Because even legends need the offices of Chris M. Ingram.
Are you looking for a visa? Why don't you get your free consultation on the Breakthrough website? We're with you every step of the way.
Yes, USCIS ended the 540-day automatic extension for certain EAD renewals.
This is a huge risk for employment continuity. We need to stress how important this is. For many categories, and it's critical to note, not for F1 OPT or STEM OPT, they still have a 180-day extension. But for many others, that safety net has shrunk dramatically.
So if you're relying on that 540-day window for continuous work authorization while your renewal was pending, you are now facing a very real threat of a work gap.
A lapse in your EAD means an immediate, mandatory suspension from work. It's catastrophic for a highly skilled professional.
The actionable advice here, and attorney Chris Ingram really underscores this, is simple but vital. File your EAD renewal at the earliest possible date you can, often 6 or 7 months before it expires, to mitigate this risk.
And looking even further ahead, there's still legislative uncertainty around student status itself. There are proposals floating around to replace the duration of status rule for F1 students.
Which normally covers your studies plus OPT.
Right. And replace it with fixed, shorter admission periods.
Fixed admissions would just drastically tighten monitoring and increase the administrative burden. Students would constantly have to prove they're making academic progress, which puts unnecessary pressure on crucial research stages.
And then there are the proposals to actively restrict optional practical training, which are always looming. If OPT gets curtailed or eliminated, that vital transition bridge, the hands-on experience that turns an F1 grad into a level 3 H-1B candidate, is severely weakened.
All this political tension just reinforces the consensus our legal team found from leading academics. Gordon Hanson of UC San Diego stresses that America attracts immigrants who achieve very high levels of education and who are strongly inclined toward training in STEM disciplines.
These aren't just average graduates.
No, they are highly motivated, high-achieving people. And Michael Clemens really captures the economic risk. He argues that the economic impact of a sustained decline in foreign STEM graduates could be substantial.
Cutting these programs is basically shooting ourselves in the economic foot.
It is. So let's use our two data scientist scenarios again, Sarah and Jordan, to show how these procedural changes play out in real life, focusing on vetting and that EAD risk.
Okay, so Sarah is a fresh PhD holder from China. She's working at level 1 wages, around $95,000 a year. She's doing fundamental data analysis. She's under close supervision. And her H-1B petition is in that standard selection pool.
So Sarah has to be hyper aware of the enhanced biometrics and the deep social media vetting. She just can't afford any online inconsistency or any ill-advised posts. And for her EAD renewals, she has to file exceptionally early to avoid any work gaps that could jeopardize her role.
Okay, then we have Jordan, an experienced analyst from Nigeria. He's at the level 4 wage tier, earning about $155,000. He's fully independent, leading advanced modeling projects in personalized medicine for a major biotech firm.
Jordan benefits from those multiple weighted entries in the H-1B lottery because of his high salary. And because his role is so specialized, his employer might also be able to build a case for that $100,000 fee exemption based on the national interest in advanced medical research.
And he also leverages the mandatory electronic payment system for his I-129 form. For a role like his, which is central to time-sensitive research, that can streamline the process and prevent delays.
Yeah, the overarching advice from attorney Chris Ingram is very clear, he says. STEM professionals must align their roles with accurate occupational employment and wage statistics data. Use level 1 for entry, supervised work, level 4 for expert independence to maximize weighted selection odds.
This ensures your petition reflects true skill level, improving chances in competitive STEM fields, and forcing employers to value your contribution accurately.
These scenarios really highlight that navigating the new USCIS landscape needs a dual approach. Unwavering vigilance on the procedural stuff, combined with a strategic push to accelerate your career to meet those high wage requirements that the new H-1B system rewards.
Okay, let's zoom out completely. We've covered the personal journey, we've covered the policy mechanics. It's time to look at the macro perspective, the why behind this U.S. push to retain high-skilled talent, and the long-term green card pathways that exist specifically because your skills are an economic catalyst.
The relationship between skilled immigration and the U.S. economy is, well, it's foundational. Foreign-born talent doesn't just fill gaps. It drives innovation in AI, in research, in deep tech.
The data is so compelling. Immigrants founded a huge percentage of top U.S. startups, and they earn over half of all advanced STEM degrees in the U.S.
This is a direct input into national productivity. Our researchers point to studies showing that policies which explicitly prioritize high skills boost overall productivity and GDP. On the flip side, restrictive policies risk creating shortages that lead to slower growth.
The numbers are really persuasive. Some reports estimate that strategically shifting U.S. policy to attract and retain high-skilled foreign workers could increase the nation's GDP by a substantial 4.6% over several decades.
That's not just incremental growth. That is a fundamental, massive injection of long-term economic vitality. It's driven by labor specialization and innovation.
And economists agree that skilled inflows can actually enhance wages for native workers by promoting complementary specialization.
Right. When a specialized foreign engineer arrives, they don't just take a job. They create a niche that lets native workers focus on other, often higher value tasks.
The consensus on this is really firm. The Penn-Wharton analysis states it plainly. Immigration leads to more innovation, a better educated workforce, greater occupational specialization.
And economist Tarek Hassan reinforces that, saying, immigrants boost innovation and wages and help attract foreign investment. So keeping this talent past the H-1B stage is an economic imperative.
Which brings us to the fastest track to permanent residency for innovators, the EB-2 National Interest Waiver.
This is such a critical pathway for highly accomplished STEM professionals, and our legal team gave us some excellent insight into how it works.
Okay, so the National Interest Waiver, or NIW, it falls under the EB-2 employment-based category, which requires an advanced degree or exceptional ability. But the magic of the NIW is that it allows the applicant to self-petition.
Self-petitioning. That means you bypass the traditional, often years-long labor certification process.
That process requires an employer to prove there are no minimally qualified U.S. workers available for the job. It's a massive administrative burden that is completely removed with the NIW.
This waiver is granted if you can demonstrate that your proposed work is in the national interest of the United States. And since 2016, the criteria have been governed by a key administrative decision known as the Matter of Donisar.
For our listeners, understanding these three prongs of the Donisar test is the technical key to a successful NIW application.
It is. Okay, let's break it down. What are the 3 essential things an applicant has to prove to get an NIW?
First, you have to prove that your proposed endeavor has both substantial merit and national importance.
Meaning you have to show that your work, say, developing clean energy or pioneering new medical treatments, benefits the whole nation, not just your employer or your city.
The second prong is highly personal. You have to demonstrate that you are well positioned to advance the proposed endeavor.
So this isn't just about having the right degree. It's about showing evidence patents, a track record of success, leadership roles, external investment, contracts, that proves you have the skills and resources to actually succeed.
And finally, the third and maybe the most complex prong. You have to show that, on balance, it would be beneficial to the U.S. to waive the labor certification requirement.
This is the core legal argument. You have to show that the urgency or the unique nature of your contribution outweighs the government's standard interest in protecting the U.S. labor market.
And if you successfully clear those 3 prongs, your green card pathway is dramatically sped up. It's a legal pathway designed to retain innovators immediately.
Let's look at 2 materials engineers. We'll call them Liam and Sophia, to highlight how the NIW can apply at different career stages, regardless of their current H-1B wage level.
Okay, so Liam is earlier in his career. Maybe he's at level 1 on the OEWS scale. He's working on sustainable materials research, focusing on eco-friendly composites. He self-petitions for an EB2 NIW.
For Liam to succeed, he has to focus heavily on the first and third prongs of that dinosaur test. He has to demonstrate that his early work has substantial national merit because it addresses national environmental goals, like the switch to sustainable infrastructure.
By linking his research directly to a major national priority, he justifies the waiver. He secures residency without having to wait for that long labor certification process.
Exactly. Now let's take Sophia. She's a level 4 expert from Mexico, already leading groundbreaking projects in advanced nanomaterials. Her portfolio is stacked with patents and a strong track record of securing research grants.
For Sophia, the argument is probably weighted more toward that second prong, demonstrating she is exceptionally well positioned to advance the proposed endeavor.
Her documented leadership, her patents, her publication record, it all serves as overwhelming evidence. It expedites her approval.
And this rapid approval lets her do exactly what the U.S. economy needs her to do: move quickly. She can found a startup based on her innovations, commercialize her clean technology, which immediately attracts foreign investment and, crucially, creates new jobs in the U.S.
These examples just underscore how the NIW really empowers highly skilled STEM immigrants to turn their professional expertise into permanent residency. It's a direct recognition that innovation isn't a luxury. It's an economic necessity that requires a fast track for the people who can deliver it.
So, as we bring all this together, from Omar Yagi's incredible story, through the mechanics of the weighted H-1B, the vigilance you need with USCIS policy shifts, and the economic reasons for keeping talent here, it's clear that the U.S. is still the central global magnet for STEM talent.
As long as you approach the system strategically, your work in AI, engineering, and biotech, it's absolutely foundational to America's future innovation. But resilience and strategic planning, they're not optional anymore. They are prerequisites for turning these policy challenges into real career advantages.
So here's a quick synthesis of the key takeaways for you, the learner, to carry forward. First, the journey from an F1 student to global scientific impact, like Yagi's story, is real and it's the ultimate goal. But it demands relentless professional development and documented achievement.
Second, the H-1B landscape has fundamentally changed. It now explicitly favors expertise and competitive salaries. It puts significant, quantifiable weight on roles at OEWS levels 3 and 4, which means level 1 applicants are facing a very new, very challenging competitive landscape.
Third, operational proactivity is absolutely essential. You have to stay ahead of filing deadlines, especially with that smaller EAD extension window, and you must maintain an impeccable professional digital footprint because of the increased USCIS vetting.
A work gap or a vetting concern can derail years of planning.
Exactly. And finally, your STEM expertise is recognized as a vital component of U.S. economic growth. Fast-track pathways like the EB2 National Interest Waiver, based on those 3 prongs of the Dinosaur test, are specifically designed to retain and fast-track that critical talent toward permanent residency.
Attorney Chris Ingram offers a really powerful final encouragement for everyone navigating this complex system. He says, "In every twist of your immigration path, find strength in your purpose. Your STEM dreams are not just personal. They fuel a nation built on diverse brilliance. Keep moving forward with hope. For brighter horizons await those who persevere."
That's a great message. And it leads us to our final provocative thought for you to consider as you process everything we've covered today. We've seen how current policies incentivize higher paid roles through the weighted selection system. So how might this dynamic shift influence the decisions of universities and entry-level employers when it comes to foreign STEM graduates in the coming years?
And specifically, what new creative strategies might be needed for Level 1 applicants to demonstrate the national importance and substantial merit of their early career work, maybe to strengthen their NIW case, even before they secure that first H-1B registration.
Something to think about. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into the STEM frontier.
Thank you so much for being with us today. We hope you gained a lot from this discussion. Please leave us a comment if you can. Additionally, you can support our channel by sharing it with your friends and family, helping us build this community together.
Also, follow us on Spotify, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, X, and Instagram, where we're growing rapidly thanks to our social media team.
We would also like to thank attorney Chris Ingram and his dedicated team once again for researching and preparing this material for our presentation.
See you next time on Let's Talk U.S. Immigration. Bye for now.